Welcome to Yeshiva Daf, your sponsor, Nishmas, I'm Yak Shalom, Abbas Yitzchok. We're holding it Sanhedrin Daf Samechtes, starting the Samechtes of base in the bottom. We started a sugya. The Gemara brought that Rav Chizda learned that when the pasuk says by Ben Surya Moir, Chiyeli Ish Ben, you learn from here that the father needs to be an adult. The father cannot be a child. So, Mashra over here, that a child can have children. Just tell you that even though he's a child, if he's a child, he cannot have been Tzur Yomir. Says the Gemara now the following. We're starting 4 lines at the bottom of the Samachas of base. Uplika the Rabba. This argues the Rabba. Doma Rabba koton eino moili. A child cannot have children. Can't give birth. Shedemayim ein leish goyel. We're talking about someone who stole from a ger. The Torah says that he stole from a ger and there's nobody to give back to, so then you give to the kohen. So more dashins, because like a cost of a daf, we're talking about a ger. Without samechtes of daf. Mono, ish, if it's an adult, so you have to come and check, does he have children or not? You have to, ish, check out if there's a kohen. If he's a child, you don't have to check. The Torah tells you to teach you that only an ish may have a goyel, meaning if he's a ger, and not a child. So it says, Rabbi, from here you learn that a kotta cannot have children. Only, right? Says Abaye, we're talking about a beilo. It says, I have only a child who's above 9 years old. How do you know it's only a full adult who has beilo will have Isser, will have a problem of rights? What happens if he's 9 years old above? In other words, anybody who has the ability to do bia is usher. A 9-year-old onward can do bia. So you see, we could have bia. He has the ability to do bia, he can't give birth. Like you have tevuah grain and not grow a third. If you replant, it doesn't grow. So there is tevuah over there where it doesn't grow. So you have bia over here where it doesn't grow. Says the Gemara Chizkiyotano, Chiyazid ish. It says Chiyazid ish to do a vero. Ish mezid umazriya vein kotor mezid mazriya. Ish is able to actually do hazra that will give children, but a child is not. How do you see it from the word ki yozit? So it says the Gemara, my mashma dai means it means lashon cooking. It's fully cooked. So it's edible. So it means lashon hazada means it's completely prepared. That's only when you get to the age of 13. Before that, even though he has biyah, it's not fully cooked. So more about time Rabbi Shmuel ben Veloyav, right? It says time Rabbi Shmuel learns ben Veloyav that a ben, meaning that it has to be that he's 13 years old and not someone who is a father. So one understands right now. So if he's a father, so then he cannot be a ben Tzoyimur. Hey, what's the case of one? Maybe you tell me he gave. When there was bia, the inception happened after he brought to Cyrus. Once he was turned 13. And when was the birth? If one understands right now, he has a child. So the birth was before he stopped being a ben Tzoyimur. We learned before that the time limit of ben Tzoyimur is Yaakov Zokon. It will be a beard boy Samokar. So he has to be before that age. You want to live this so long? The amount of days that the Tzor Yomor can be in Tzor Yomor is only 3 months. You can't give birth in 3 months. The Bia was before he turned 13. So that's why he gave birth before he brought the Hakaf Zakah before 13 years and 3 months. Meaning he had Behila 6 months before he turned 13. So you see over here that a Kotan is able to give birth. Shramin a Kotan Moilit. So loy. Loy lom the Abba, both so dies the Shtesaris. the conception happened after he brought Shtei Cyrus. And then he gave birth after Kivzaka. In other words, really, this sentence of the Gemara, according to what Rashi learns, this sentence of the Gemara is lav davka. Because I don't care if he's giving birth or not giving birth. He's not going to give birth before he becomes Shtei Cyrus. If so, it's only 3 months. So what does Rabbi Shmuel say? Not somebody who's roy to be anav. Which means, what Rabbi Shmuel is really saying is Rav Kuspedoi, says Rashi, that the entire time of Ben Tzorah is 3 months. How do you know it's 3 months? So Rav Kuspedoi said, that's the time it takes, and we'll see in a moment. But it says Rabbi Shmuel, we learn from the Pasuk. The Pasuk says that anybody who could be a father cannot be a Ben Tzorah. Who could be a father? When he has a shame father. So it says that, as the Gemara says, Rashi, once he reaches 3 months, the nikar ha'uber. 3 months after pregnancy, third of the pregnancy, that's when you can recognize the baby. So a child who has be'ilah, and let's say the woman became pregnant, you still won't call him a father because nobody knows she became pregnant. So when do you start calling him a father? When nikar ha'uber, 3 months. So that's what Shmuel says. Not being a father, but somebody who is roy to be a father, meaning he is after 3 months, he potentially could be a father. And actually, the Rabbi Shmuel is saying of Kuspedoi that the time limit is 3 months. Now, when you read the Lashon Gemara, you could have said differently. You could have said it means not someone who impregnated a woman, not gave birth to a child, but pregnant woman, and 3 months later, she is pregnant. So l'chura, that the understanding more is, if he is if he's a father, so the father starts from the time of conception. And we didn't know about it until 3 months. And Eli want to tell me that it's not enough to be a father in potential. He actually has to be born. So that's 9 months. So Imam, what is it? So where it says no, it's royally yourself, the people call him a father. That's who understands. That's what Bishmol is saying. Okay, so Zok the Gemara. Okay, so says the Gemara. That's a rational disugri, even though there's others who say it a little differently. Says the Gemara. One goes back to the evening of Rav Kuspedoi. The days of Tzorah is 3 months. We said until he's fully zakon. So is it 3 months? So Yaki zakon. So when he keeps zakon, Avgad lo yibol gimel chadoshim. Mal gimel chadoshim, Avgad lo yibol zakon. In other words, it's either or. Whatever comes first. Yotzi Rav Yaakov min Apkadoi kamin davin of Yosef kol mashpei davun of Bidi Yeshua. What do you say? Shpagdam kavsvedoi. Olav Shabta, you led this Shivo in Uboro Nikar L'Shli Shameh. Meaning what? How do you see this? So the Rav Kuspedoi, the Gemara understands, and this student based like Rabbi Shmuel said, as Rashi explained, that why 3 months? Because 3 months is when somebody is called a father. A child potentially can be called a father within 3 months. After 3 months, not less. Why 3 months? Because 3 months is a third of the pregnancy. The pregnancy is 9 months. A third, Shli Shameh, that's when you see the baby. And mainly can be called a father within 3 months. So then what happens if a woman gives birth earlier than 9 months? She gives birth after 7 months. So her then Nikar earlier. We said if potentially this boy could be called a father, she's not b'tzorah. So maybe potentially he can be called a father earlier when she has a short pregnancy. That's what the Gemara asks. Look at Rashi. Rashi says, Shravino, third wide line. It's not nikar, but less than 3 months. If after a third of the time is nikar, so after 2 months and a third, that should be the time limit of Ben Tzorah. The royally is royally and Rashi goes on and says also have Karina Lalacho between when a woman she didn't wait enough time between the first husband and the second husband, and she had a baby. Let's say she waited only 2 months and a third, and then she had a baby after 7 months. So clearly, if it was not Nikar for after 2 months and a third, it's not the son of the first one, it's not the son of the second one. If Nikar b'shlish, v'adam min harishon. Why? Because it can't. The case is the opposite. If she was married to the first one, got divorced. She got married to the second one right after without waiting, and 2 months and a third afterwards, Nikar Uber. Clearly, it's for the first because it takes 3 months for it to be Nikar. Even if the pregnancy is short, so that's what we're saying. You see, that nobody is Nikar Uber until 3 months because if not, a Mitzvah Moyer should stop being a Mitzvah Moyer when the smallest time can be. The Sakadai the Chubar Nikar Shtishamil. Amali Gimel Betil the Sagil. 2 months and a third should be good enough. You're right. There are women that have their pregnancies Nikar earlier. But if so, why has it been so only 3 months? You go based on right. Most people don't give birth until 9 months, and the Uber is not Nikar to 3 months. You want to tell me the Nefashah go based on right? We learn that we always have to try to find a schus. You go based on right and rely on the right. You want to the Nefashah's lawyers, leave it to Ruba. You want to the Nefashah, you don't go based on right. We saw earlier, 2 Eidim. 1 8 says it was the second day of the month. The other one says it was the third of the month. As it was okay. One knows the Hebrew, one does not know the Hebrew. If you want to tell me that what? That you don't go based on Roiv, so maybe they didn't make a mistake. And they were backfish each other, you can't kill the person. Most people make a mistake. They don't know. Most people don't realize exactly. It's common for people to make that mistake. So you see, you rely on the Roiv. So this is what we learned before. A 3-year-old girl, once she turns 3, she'll get Bevio. If a father agrees, Bia is koiner. So Yavam will do Bia is koiner. She's completely a wife, and there's Ish over there. Umitam is boil, she has a din of Nido. That someone who's boiled her has a din of a boil Nido. Anything beneath him causes a tumor like Eliyoina Shulzah, which means that's Metame Oichlimu Mashke. That's a din of Rishon tumor that causes tumor to Oichlimu Mashke, even though he didn't touch it, it was only beneath him. That's a special din of someone who's boiled Nido. Means like she can marry a Krich Truma. Came one of the psulim, makes a pos for kuno. Any arayas, come on, there's misa and she's butter. And more understand what's arayas, including through marriage. Through marriage, meaning because she's ish, or there's a father-in-law. Says the Gemara, "Dav sometimes obeys. Ve'mai emar loim ayin l'si fadat dachil kodesh." Maybe she's not island. Says kiddush, not kiddush. Most women are not animals. So it says the Gemara, "My chayav l'diktani korban." It is a korban. What you chayav in it is a korban, not miso. Famu mosim al yodaktani says you're being killed her. The father came on, not through marriage. Says then he arrives. And talk about the husband said, I don't care if it's island or not, I'm willing to make Kadisher. Hashem says a daichak, and that's the more understands, and that's why it's not a rayo that you go by Saroiv, so that's not a rayo. Now, so what is the Gemara trying to bring over here? Trying to bring over here a rayo. Do you go by Saroiv? Legabi the fact that Betzoyu Moire, for the age of 13 to 13 and 3 months, why is 3 months? Because that's Nikar Uber, you see, you go by Sarai. Because if not, if you go by Sarai, I've been Sarai Mish is helping a Sarai Moire after 2 months and a third. Now, this is just to point this out. The L'chora, we find you go Basaroiv, or where do you find that? But Dayanim, we saw it earlier. When you have a Dayanim, right, Tosis brings this, not here, Tosis later. When you have Dayanim, we go based on Roiv. How do you go based on Roiv? You look at the first Zachar Roiv. Elamai, you see, you do go based on Roiv. So why here is different? So there's two main understandings why it's different. One is, the pshat is, the reason why it's different is because this is Ruba de Isa Kaman, Ruba de Leisa Kaman, which means the Roiv that we're talking about over here is a statistical Roiv. It's not, I don't know, how do you know the most kids don't have, the most pregnancies are 9 months? How do I know the most women are not islanders? Statistics, probability. You go based on probability, you're right. You go based on, that's more not sure you go based on Roiv. By Dayanim, it's Ruba de Isa Kaman, it's in front of me. I see, look at the Dayanim. So that's why maybe it'd be different. That's one way to understand it. The other way to understand is by Dayanim, the mute is batal. When I have 20 Dayanim says Chayav and 3 say Pater, the 3 are batal by the 20. By here, it's not batal. I always have a certain amount of the population that doesn't go based on the statistics. So that's why it's not the same thing, and there's a lot more to talk about it. So one more we before we go on, is that the Gemara brought over here that a katan, we were before in the Mudalef, should have mentioned before, that a katan, it was a ger, we say that a katan, to look for his children, the question is, does he have children? Because the question is, if he has children, so the moment belongs to him. So Tosis, the big Tosis in Nafsmachazim base, 2 errors are called from Tosis. Error number 1 is, how does a katan have any property? How can he own anything? He's not zoichet. So Tosis' conclusion over here, similar to Tosis in another place in Shas, Tosis learns that das acheres makna yosef shani. If there's someone who gives him the gift, gives him something, he is able to claim. That's Tosis over here, and more to obviously Tosis here. There's Tosis in other places. Is there a kid in the katan? There's no kid in the katan. Tosis learns that das acheres is different. But here's a very important Tosis. Tosis says that how do you become a ger? If he's a child, how do you become a ger? He can't be zoichem by himself. So this one to say maybe like Tosis Ksuvis, that his mother became the gerus when she was pregnant. But Tosis here says that a child, when you zoich for yourself, you zoich in your body, not zoich in mommy. You zoich in your body, even a child can do that. What Tosis is, v'niyad deschir the gerus l'dom l'shas chirs, the masha bezim at bilu loisoy, and it was zoichim ba'avru, elo hu zoiche be'atzmoi u be'gufoi. He's zoich in his body. Shnichas ger v'chas gal v'chino. And that he's able to do. So Ger is a little different. His Zoich is Gufoy, and this Tosis there's a lot to talk about it, but there's a big Yisrael of Tosis, when he's Zoich in his own body, a Koton could do it. But say, let's go on, let's look to Gemara. When Daf Samtes was basic, Gemara says, Tonoban, Hamisulelis v'bno Koton. A woman is playing with a little child. Ve'erabo, and there was a little ear over here. The child, right when his ear out, she says either the Aver touched the Aver, or it was Echros Satar. The child will be possible to go, it's possible to go right away. See the Makshir, see the say it's fine. Omar Abkhir Breda Rabbi Barachmani, Omar Chiz Dovar, Omar Chiz Dovar Zahiri, Akol Moidim Mentation Shorim Yom Echod, should be Yosabio. 9 years old, we know Zabio. That's it, should be close possible. How could he be Shmoin Shein Biosabio? Under the age of 8, in Biosabio. Lo Nikol Gola Ben Shmoino. Question about an 8-year-old. The Shabbos Sabi Gamim Doris Ushayin. Do you learn from the early generations? So what I was going to bring now over here, the rest of the Talmud, the Chacha that Doris Hashem gave birth in the age of 8. Here I want to say that today, you can't give birth at the age of 8, you can't give birth at the age of 9 either, but at least it will be considered to be a Bia at the age of 8. Do we learn from there that it's considered to be a Bia or not? So how do you know that in the earlier generations, they gave birth at the age of 8? We're going to try to bring a few rights. Number 1, Ilim Edichtiv, Haloi Zois Batsheva Bas Eliom Eshes Uriachiti. So in other words, we're introducing here Batsheva. Batsheva was the wife of David eventually. Originally, she was the wife of Uriah. And she was the daughter of Eliam. Eliam was her father. Okay, that's what we see from Pasuk number 1. Pasuk number 2, Vechtiv Eliam ben Achitofel Agilain. Eliam was the son of Achitofel. So Batsheva is the granddaughter of Achitofel. V'chtiv, v'yishlav be'adnos v'navovi v'yikrat shmo Yedidya, ba'arvu ki Hashem, or Yavoy. In other words, when Shlomo HaMelech was born, He was called Yedidya. He was the Shlomo Melech, son of Batsheva, was Yedidya. That's what it says in the pasuk. And it says, after that, 2 years later, so then there was the whole story with Amnon that Avshalom killed him. It was 2 years after Shlomo Melech was born. Okay? Then Avshalom went away for 3 years because he was afraid of David the Melech. After he killed Amnon, he ran away for 3 years. How old is Shlomo Melech right now? 5, right? 2 years after he was born. So it was the story of Amnon. And then Avshalom ran away for 3. So now he's 5 years old. Then he came back. Avshalom, he was there for 2 years. So how old is Shlomo? 7. Now comes the story that Avshalom rebels against his father. Then came the story that Achitophel was joined Avshalom in his rebellion. And when he saw that Avshalom was not successful, he went and committed suicide. That's what happened to Achitophel. And it says that Achitophel, during the rebellion of Avshalom, that's when he killed himself. So how old is Shlomo Melech when Achitophel kills himself? 7 years old, based on the whole cheshbon. It says that the Rishonim don't get to the half of their life. The Rishonim don't get to the age of 35, which is half of 70. And it says that Doeg got to 34, Achitophel got to 33. So Achitophel is 33 years old, that's when he died. So when Achitophel died, he was 33 years old. And in that time, Shlomo Melech is 7 now. As the Gemara is going to say, just remember what was the whole sequence of Sukkim. Achitophel is the father of Eliam. And Eliam is the father of Batsheva. And Batsheva is the father of Shlomo. So Achitophel is a great-grandfather of Shlomo Melech. Achitophel dies at the age of 33, and Shlomo Melech is already 7 years old. That means, says the Gemara, let's see how it goes to Cheshbon. Says the Gemara, how many years did he live? Taltim Utlas, 33. Dal Sheva, Dav, Shlomo, take up the years that Shlomo Melech was born, that's 7 years. So 33 minus 7, what is that? Pashlu is 3 Mashit. You left for 26. Dal Tatishni Kloti Buri. Now, you have your 3 generations that were born after Achitophel. Eliam, Batsheva, Shlomo. It takes 2 years for the pregnancies. We'll see in a moment why. Why 2 years for the pregnancies? So take out 2 years out of 26 of the age of Achitophel. So now he's at 24. So the 3 generations that were born from the time that Achitophel was born. So if so, everyone gave birth at the age of 8. Achitophel gave birth at the age of 8. So yeah, because we have 24 years left. 24 divided by 3 is 8. Now, let's just be mevar with the Gemara saying for 2 years. Why 2 years? So Rashi explains that why you need 2 years for 3 pregnancies. Because every pregnancy in the minimum is 7 months. So that's 7 months. 7 times 3 is 21 months. Now, says Rashi, in addition, you have time of nidus. And damleida, nidus, that's another month. So therefore, it's 8 months. That's right, it's exactly 2 years. Says, what do you mean? The nidus comes after the birth. The nidus is not part of the cheshbon. They gave birth after 7 months. And then there's another month of nidus. Well, what does that have to do with the age of the child? It doesn't stop the child from growing. So then he says, it's lav dafka. It's really 21 months. Really, you have so 21 months, not 2 years. Then 1 month, we're not cheshboning. It's 21, it really should be 21, but 24. The Adramah learns we're not going to 7 months, we're going to 9 months. And 9 months times 3 is 27 months. That's a little more than 2 years. Okay, so in any case, what the cheshbon is. The cheshbon is like this. Achitophel, when he was 8 years old, he gave birth. Right? It took 7 months for the baby to be born. At least 7 months. 8 months with whatever the cheshbon is. And now there is another. Now he gave birth to Eliam. Eliam, 8 years later, gave birth to Batsheva. So right now you have that took 7 months for her for the pregnancy. So it's 8 years and 8 months, plus another 8 years and another 8 months. And now Bathsheba is 8 years old, and she gets pregnant with Shlomo Melech. 8 months later, he's born. That's exactly 26 years. And that's why when Achiteva dies, he's 33. Says the Gemara, Mimai Dilo Tava B'Teisha Oili Bathsheba Oili B'Shis. 1 second. How do you know it's 8, 8, and 8? Maybe the first two who were men, they gave birth at the age of 9. Which that works. Today we know 9 years old is Bar Bia. So those days they gave birth, they became pregnant. Bathsheba was a female. She was a woman. So maybe she gave birth at the age of 6. The Hebrew so body, a woman is strong and able to give birth. It says anyway you have to say that. Remember David the Melech, another baby who died from Bathsheba. So even if you want to tell me that Bathsheba gave birth at the age of 8, she still gave birth a little earlier. So maybe over here she stopped the whole thing went a little earlier. So there's no raya that a man that Darius was showing gave birth at the age of 8 for a man. So what was another raya? Right? So Terach had 3 children. The more understand that when the Torah mentions the name, the list of children, they go in chronological sequence. So something more. So one does a cheshbon. Avram Godel Minoch Shana, Avram Godel Minoch Shana. They're about a year apart. As we said before, it could be a little less. But we're saying let's assume we're rounding it up to a year. Means Avram Godel Shtei Shani Me'Aaron. So Avram is older than Aaron by 2 years. Avram took a wife. Who was his wife? Yisco. That's what it says in the pasuk. From Avitzchok Yisco Zusar. Listen to Sarah. She was so beautiful. Who was Yisca? Yisca is the daughter of Haran. So Avram married his niece. What does in the pasuk of there? Avram says, I'm 100. When I give birth to Yitzchak, I'll be 100. And Sarah will be 90. So you see how many years apart between Avram and Sarah? We all know this. 10 years. So when Avram is 10 years old, that's when Sarah was born. Because now remember, who's the father of Sarah? Haran. And how many years Avram older than Haran? 2. Based on the pasuk before. So it comes out that Haran gave birth to Sarah when he was 8. Because Avram is 10 years older than Sarah, and he's 2 years older than Haran. So when Shtaki older Haran, the Sarah betam Yolido. No, maybe Avram was the youngest. Maybe Haran was 2 years older than Avram, and he gave birth to Sarah when he was 12. And why it says Avram first? Because he was the smartest. He was Baal Chacham. So now we see such a thing. It says Shem Chav Yofis. It's Yom first. You want to tell me that Shem is the oldest? Well, that can't be. Why do you know that? Because according to that, Shem Godam Yichov Shana, V'Chav Godam Yefes Shana. Each one is older than his brother by a year. Inside Shem Godam Yefes Shtei Shanim, so Shem is older than Yefes by 2 years. So it says that when Noah was 500 years old, he started having kids. 600 years, the Mabul came. So his first kid was 100 years old. It says that 2 years after the Mabul, Shem gave birth to Achbachshad, and he was 100 years old. He wasn't 100, he was 102. Why is he 102? Because if he was born when Noach was 500, and the Mabul when Noach was 600, he was 100 years old when the Mabul came, and he's giving birth 2 years after the Mabul, he's 102. So why does he say he's 100? Hashem wasn't born when Noach was 500. So why is he mentioned first? Because you go based on the Chachma. He was born third. So you go based on Chachma by Avraham. So Gemara says no raya from Avraham that Haran gave birth at the age of 8. So one Kana Midrash Mites coming there Zvid Minardo. So Kana said this whole shmur in front of Zvid. Only Atul Me'achav V'Sizlo. You tried to learn from there. Only Me'achav V'Sizlo. We have a different raya. This is just to conclude the thing with Noach. Well, the Shem wasn't the oldest because it says Shem Gamu, Shem Yulad Gamu, Avi Kol Bnei Aver Achi Yefes Hagodo. Right, so Shem gave birth. He was the brother of Yefes, the big. Yefes Hagodo Shebei Chovav. Yefes is the oldest one. So he's asked if it was gold, if it's not in general, why it says Shem Cham V'Yefes, why is Yefes last? Right? L'chur Chum should be the last one. Okay. Says the Gemara, Ella Minola. So how do we know that 8 years old they gave birth in earlier generations? It says Betzalel ben Uri ben Chur l'mate Yehuda. Betzalel, who was the son of Uri, was the son of Chur. So who's the father of Chur? Kalev ben Yifune. So Kalev is the great grandfather. His son is Chur. His grandson is Uri, and his great grandson is Betzalel. How old was Betzalel when he made the Mishkan? By place, he was 12 years old. It says Ish. It's not Ish until he's 13. They shouldn't really ask if it's Thursday Shredim or older. We gave birth earlier. Maybe they were older in early age. But the Pashup Shad is that the Torah goes I'll be stumped to teach you how the Torah is after the Torah was given. We're going with 13. So the Torah says Ish means 13. The first year Moshe Rabbeinu built the Mishkan. The second year he said Meraglim. The last part of the post we don't need right now. So Kalev was how old when he was sent as to be a Meraglim? 49 years old. At 49, he was sent to be a Meraglim. A year earlier, the Mishkan was built. How old was Kalev then? 39. And how old was his great-grandson Betzalel? 13. So at what age how old was Kalev when Betzalel, his great-grandson, was born? 39 minus 13. He was 26. Says the Gemara, when he was a Meraglim. So Betzalel, take it 14 years, because Betzalel was 13 when he built the Mishkan, 14 when he said Meraglim. Pashu assume he's 26 years old. Now, go back to the same cheshbon. If there was 3 generations, you have to have 2 years of a break, of a minimum break, in order for them to give birth. For pregnancy, you have 7 months according to Rashi, plus a month. So it's 8 months, that's 3 is 2 years. So he's 26 when he has his great grandson. Take out 2 years for the pregnancies. So all of them were men. Each one gave birth at the age of 8. So you see right from Betzalel that the people gave birth at the age of 8. Unfortunately, he asks, why don't we bring this raya first? Why do we have to go to Batsheva? And they want to say that they want to bring 3 rayas. They want to bring Shebcha B'Yofes, Betzalel, and the story of Batsheva to show that it happened 3 times. The Gemara says 2 of them are not good rayas, so we remain with Betzalel. Says more Ben B'Libas, Tanya Rav Shimon Bedina Ahu Shetei Bas Really a daughter should be a Ben Tzorei Meir. Why? Something with the item without should call me Why are we killing Ben Tzorei Meir? Hashem safely. Girls should be much worse because everybody comes to do this with her. And like Xeris Akosov Ben Lebas, Xeris Akosov, even though Misvaro daughter should be a Ben Tzorei Meir, Torah says Ben Veloy Bas. So we'll stop over here. Pay the Shekhatim for the Mishnah in the next daf.